Right, hey guys, how are we doing? Back with another video from Mother's Basement, and today we are checking out AI anime, an insult to life itself. No clue what this is addressing. Obviously, AI stuff is just floating up all over the show now at the moment, and I've not seen anything anime related other than like maybe Toledo Mark's video where they took drawings and then had anime characters created by AI stuff. But anyway, let's figure it out. Let's check it out. Let's watch it. Click play. Okay, let's click play.
Wouldn't it be cool if you could film yourself and easily turn into anything you want, like a cartoon character?
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Okay, before I get heated, and believe me, I'm about to get heated.
Sorry, I absolutely love the Reboot hoodie he's got there. If you ever seen Reboot, if you've not, cool. Oh, Corridor Digital. Okay, I haven't watched them in a while. Wow, they're really good at special effects. Okay, interesting.
Let me say up front that I've long had immense respect for Corridor Digital
Yeah.
as visual effects artists and YouTube pioneers.
Oh, back in the day when dubstep was like huge, dubstep guns was so sick.
When I was younger, I thought the whole video games but real life thing that they and Rocket Jump were doing was some of the best content on this entire platform. And their anime parodies are nowhere near as funny as Mega 64's RDC Worlds.
Oh, anime fidget spinners! I reacted to that back in the day.
As far as the visuals and direction went, they nailed it every time. Certainly better than most Hollywood movies that have tried to do anime.
Oh yeah.
No, I just watched all of those.
Oh,
and
I missed that as well. I need to check that out.
So tired.
Oh.
But not even that took as much out of me as the two pieces of content the Corridor crew just plopped onto my feed this week. The first of those, Anime Rock Paper Scissors, actually had me intrigued at first with a casual glance at the thumbnail, emphasis on casual glance. It's always exciting to see outsider artists take a crack at animation, so long as they have proper respect for the medium. Exarm.
Damn, we're still talking about that.
Thumbnail, it took me all of a second to realize that Corridor absolutely did not, and this was just another one of those crappy Stable Diffusion anime filter monstrosities that have been polluting every corner of the internet lately. Admittedly, it was clear that Corridor had refined the process substantially to make something that looked less overwhelmingly ass-like than your average anime TikTok dance or, say, the latest Linkin Park music video.
Oh yeah, they did that, didn't they? Because they took all the... I've paused that at the wrong time. But yeah, they took clips from old music videos and then layered it over with the with that filter.
Was way less flickery than any of those, the end result still looked like a particularly hot and sweaty piece of ass, with bizarre nightmare faces all over the place, distracting glitches galore, and, of course, the hands. Oh, Haruhi, the hands. These guys apparently spent months dialing in the settings on their AI just to make something substantially less appealing than what Joel Haver can do with just a little bit of actual drawing with his mouse in a couple weeks.
Oh, God.
And if they'd left it at that, I probably would have just rolled my eyes, left a dislike.
I've not seen anyone talk about this. This is interesting.
But Corridor had the audacity to drop another video that same day, the one you saw at the start of this one.
Oh, behind the
titled,
scenes.
Did we just change animation forever?
Ugh. That sounds quite pretentious and up yourself, really, doesn't it? Just recording it that.
And that made me so mad on so many levels that I had no choice but to throw together this entire response just to say, boy, I fucking hope not. To be clear, I'm not just saying that because their anime looks like ass. In fact, I'd only be shouting this harder if it didn't, because it needs to be said. Corridor's tech bros spiel that traditional animation that requires a team of incredibly skilled people drawing every frame is somehow in need of democratizing is straight up offensive.
Yeah.
Shinkai made an entire anime episode by himself on a Power Mac in 2002. Corridor's
Wow.
inability to do so with modern tech isn't a manpower issue. It's a skill issue, and
Oh,
frankly,
mate,
I think
Jeff.
the people who've spent their lives cultivating that skill deserve to keep getting paid for
he's
it.
not
and,
wrong.
in fact, be paid a
Yes,
lot more.
yes.
Not less because some computer dorks devalued their work in the
Oh,
eyes of money
God.
guys with no taste. Which is what will happen if the technology and processes Corridor are advertising and apparently tutorializing behind a paywall on their website do take off and have the impact they're pushing for. An impact that, I must stress, would be felt on a different industry from the one they're actually in. In response to the backlash that their videos understandably gotten, Corridor's been going around liking sarcastic tweets about people on the internet when a VFX channel tries out new VFX technology. But they're clearly pitching this as a disruption to animation, not VFX, so
Yeah, they said, did we change animation forever? Ooh, backpedaling a little bit.
that's pretty fucking scummy and dishonest, in my opinion.
Damn!
But the scummiest thing of all is
hell?
how they achieved the specific look of that short, which
Alright.
they elaborate on in their behind-the-scenes video. See, in order to get their AI to produce consistent images for each frame, instead
Right.
of having every frame look like a completely different anime, they had to train it on a series of many different images in the same style. And if they were interested in making something with even a shred of artistic legitimacy, instead of advertising how to cut animators out of animation, they could have hired an artist or two to draw up the model sheets. their
Yeah,
AI would
why not?
use.
That'd be cool.
But instead, they just went and stole a bunch of frames from Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust and trained their computer to plagiarize the distinctive shading and color work of anime legend Yoshiaki Kawajiri. Now, the second I said that, I know some dipshit jumped down to the comments to say, the only difference between an AI reproducing an art style and a human artist doing it is the time it takes. Because that's been the default defense against accusations of AI art theft in the comments of
Yeah.
Corridor's video and across the internet.
Right, okay.
So, here's why that's an incredibly wrong and, more importantly, stupid thing to say.
Damn,
Humans
Jeff's
cannot
going in.
perfectly reproduce the work of other humans without tracing over it or using a mold or stencil.
That looks cool.
Inevitably, in the process of trying to do so, any human artist will end up applying their own creative
style and take,
interpretation
yes.
to the style that they're aping based on their own unique experiences, studying other people's art, developing their own artistic techniques, and just living life. For hopefully obvious reasons, all arguments in defense of AI plagiarism are forced to fall back on that first point: studying art. Stable Diffusion was trained by feeding millions of pictures and drawings from across the internet into a compressed data set, which it then uses to predict what shapes and colors ought to go where in a new image. When you feed a bunch of anime images into Stable Diffusion and ask it to reproduce that specific style, it uses all that data to fill in any gaps.
Yeah, Totally Not Mark's definitely gone over like this in one of his videos. So yeah, this is taking off.
Now, AI proponents argue that this is fundamentally similar to how a young artist or animator might train themselves by copying art that they enjoy, and thus what Corridor did is no different than asking a human artist to trace over live action in a certain style. But this argument fails on two fronts. Firstly, it ignores how the study of art is both inextricably tied to an artist developing their muscle memory and filtered through their unique perspective, something a computer doesn't have.
Nope, not
and
at all.
secondly, it ignores that human minds don't have a computer's ability to store and call up on command every image they've ever seen. Tim Rogers notwithstanding. When you break it down, AI drawings aren't really drawn. if we must define them in terms of human art,
Yeah.
they're much closer to a hyper-advanced form of collage. And collage can be transformative art in its own right, even if it's made using copyrighted material, because the human making it is still applying their own creative interpretation in selecting and arranging that material.
Yeah, it's like, it's not taking it, learning it, and then actually learning from it. It's just going, right, okay, I'm going to combine the things I need to make that image. Yeah.
But AI doesn't and can't apply its own interpretation to the composition of anything. That is also copied from the artists and photographers whose work it's been trained on. So, unless the AI developers also own the rights to literally all of those images, it really is just plagiarism with extra steps.
Yeah.
And most of those steps are also a form of plagiarism. The Corridor crew did a bad thing here, is what I'm saying.
Right, yeah,
Though,
pretty much.
At least they didn't plagiarize the live-action shots and edits that they used as a base for the final animated product.
Because when it comes to like these AI tools, sure, it makes it easier to like copy people's style. So if somebody just rips off somebody's style, call them out on it. Be like, you ripped that person off. Screw you. Like, so then we went and we took a bunch of frames from Vampire Hunter.
Of course, when I
Jesus.
say that, I
Jesus.
am ultimately making a moral judgment as an art critic.
I love it. Call them out. So, we took a load of images from Vampire Hunter T Bloodlust.
Not a legal one, and it remains to be seen how courts and lawmakers around the world will respond to this emerging technology. One recent ruling that the art of AI-generated comics can't be protected under copyright does set a good precedent and theoretically means that anyone out there could, say, take a frame of Corridor Digital's anime and sell it on Redbubble with no repercussions.
Oof.
But if historical precedent is anything to go on, future rulings and laws will probably trend in whatever direction
Yeah.
big companies think will
If
make
they
them
see
the
there's
most
money in it, yeah,
which
yeah.
probably won't be good for the artists and animators working under those big companies, or smaller companies like Corridor trying to work independent of them, for that matter. While it is in a very gray area at the moment, my gut tells me that what Corridor Digital has done to Yoshiaki Kawajiri, and more significantly, big company studio Madhouse, will be considered copyright infringement at some point
At some point,
in the
yeah,
future.
definitely.
And even if it's not, we already know that images from any film or show made in this way can't be copyrighted, which heavily limits how indie, big air quotes, animators can merchandise or monetize this sort of work beyond throwing it up on YouTube for ad revenue. So, as far as that lofty ambition of democratizing animation goes, it's simply not going to go down that way. However, it's likely that none of those copyright restrictions will apply if the creator of an AI model like Stable Diffusion can prove that they own the rights to every image that
Every
model
single
was trained
one.
on,
Jesus
in addition
Christ. That's a lot, though, isn't it? And they probably don't own them. So, ugh.
to the base code, which is obviously infeasible for your average independent film studio or open source programmer to do, but quite feasible for any IP monopoly with the resources to research and develop its own in-house AI. So Disney, Warner Bros. Discovery, Universal, Nickelodeon,
Interesting.
Sony, Bandai Namco, maybe Toei, Production IG. The list of companies who actually own enough animation IP and assets
To actually do it
this
that
is
way.
small, but it represents a significant, possibly majority chunk of animation market share and, more importantly, jobs. And I'm not going to be too alarmist
we need
here.
people
Most
to
of those jobs
have
probably
jobs.
won't be gone anytime soon, but they might be about to
Indicative
get a
gives.
whole lot shittier. We're a long way off from AI being able to produce anything that doesn't look like hot horse manure without the guidance of both technicians who know how to finesse the tech and artists who know how to compose an appealing image. And, as we can see from all the disappearing hair, fucked up hands, and garbled monster faces and Corridor's short, not to mention their six-fingered thumbnail, we're about as far from this tech being anywhere near comparable to the work of a human team. even when the people using it know what they're doing. However, from the 1.5 million views in 3 days and tens
How many
of
dislikes?
thousands of likes on that video, we can also see that the tech is already good enough to satisfy a sizable group of people with little to no taste.
Yeah, but
in the coming years, it will only become
you can check the
more
dislikes though,
passable
can't you? When you think,
passable,
yeah,
as we've seen time
can we
and
not see
again
that?
from the
Oh.
VFX on every recent Marvel thing, is the only real standard that any of these massive media companies shoot for. So long as they can sell the end product to someone, they don't really give a fuck how good it is.
Damn.
So if all the overworked, underpaid animators under one of those brands were to, say, organize and strike for better wages and conditions, it's not hard to imagine a scenario where Disney or Nick hires on a handful of AI technicians to assist whatever animator scabs they can scrounge up just to keep the content coming and satiate as many streaming subscribers or cable viewers as possible. Maybe it won't be enough to keep the whole audience happy and break the strike completely, but it could substantially weaken the bargaining position of the strikers and force them to accept a worse deal than they'd otherwise get. And in the hypothetical event of an industry-wide strike, companies with their own in-house animation AI would have a huge advantage over those without. Disney, Warner Bros., or say Sony-owned anime studios would be able to keep bringing in at least some revenue while their competitors are starving. And
Yeah, like you're saying, if you pause that, let me just
given their
right, there we go. Yeah, so if they've, if they, like you're saying, if you can prove that you own everything that you're using to then create it, then there's no kind of like issue there. But there isn't a lot of companies that own that stuff. So it is going to be like, who's going to do it first? Who's going to do it first? Who? Because then if it does well, the other company's going to look at it and go, oh, we can prove that we own that stuff. Then it's going to be a bigger woo.
active market share, there wouldn't be an industry-wide deal for any hypothetical union without those big companies say so. So they could just keep the strike going as long as it's hurting the competition more than them. Labor standards in animation are already terrible.
Really
and
bad.
AI
Really bad.
presents a serious roadblock to
Oh,
them
yeah.
ever getting better. And that's just the short-term threat. As this technology improves, it won't be long before studios start automating or semi-automating a lot of the grunt work of the animation process, like in-betweens and background art, to save time and money on every production where they can. Which will make it harder and harder for new artists and animators to come up and hone their skills, because those jobs are the ones that give many of them their start in the industry. This isn't just a hypothetical scenario. We're already seeing something like that happen in the writing world, where anthology publications like Clark's World, where many an aspiring sci-fi or fantasy author
idea
has
what this
gotten
is.
their start, are becoming so inundated with dogshit chat GPT stories that they've had to shut down new submissions altogether.
Oh.
The AI-generated stories being pumped out by hustle culture chumps looking for a new way to make a quick
lazy.
buck are nowhere near good enough to actually sell, but they are good enough that there's no effective way to automatically filter them from bad human writing, turning the average publisher's slush pile into a slush mountain that no new writers can reasonably climb. It's already starting to happen in animation, too. Less than a month ago, Netflix and Wit Studio put out this fugly, basic-ass anime short about a sad boy and his sad robot dog
Aww.
using almost entirely AI-generated background art, pitching it as a solution to the anime industry's labor shortage, which is shorthand for shortage of artists willing to work for humans.
Jesus.
Thankfully, the piece didn't get that much attention, and the parts of the anime community
Never heard of
which
it.
did
Completely
see
missed it.
roundly condemned both the blatant lies of its marketing and the confusing jumbles in its backgrounds, even after those human touch-ups. But that was only the first attempt. if this keeps going, eventually some studio is
Yeah,
going to put
they're
out
gonna
an
do something that's gonna do
AI-assisted
well.
anime
Yeah.
or cartoon that doesn't look like complete robot
Yeah,
dog
it's gonna
shit.
happen. It's gonna
And
happen.
knowing what the broader anime fandom is willing to accept in terms of visual quality from the likes of One Punch Man Season 2 and Tokyo Revengers, it's entirely possible that studio
Shots
will get
fired
away with
everywhere
it.
in this
If
video.
they save
Jesus
enough money
Christ.
on it, other studios will follow suit. New talents fresh out of school and looking for work will be the first hit by the impact that has on the industry, and that will likely discourage future generations of artists from pursuing their passions at all, exacerbating, not alleviating, the so-called shortage. By the time AI does become passable enough to replace an entire studio of artists, there may not be that many traditional animators left to replace. Now, an automation enthusiast might hear that and say, okay, if almost nobody's going to lose their job and future generations can train up on this new tech, what's the problem? Every form of art changes, but that's exactly the problem. Art should change as
Yeah,
new
definitely.
generations of artists build on the work of their predecessors, and AI simply cannot do that. Computers can only copy and remix existing
What they've got.
man-made
They can't
art, and
create
no matter
new
how much we
stuff.
refine existing machine learning tech, unless they miraculously machine learn to feel and think organically,
Let's hope that doesn't happen.
will never change. The path laid out in Corridor's video leads to a future where there's no animation to watch but soulless AI clones of soulless AI clones of soulless AI clones of aging films and TV made decades or centuries ago, each one of those slowly being robbed of its impact and specialness by the inevitable endless recycling of its imagery and ideas. We're already living in a world where the striking look of Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust is a little less distinctive, about 5% less unique than it was a week ago if you go in terms
I'm not
of
sure if I've
total
seen
runtime.
Bloodlust. I've seen
Oh, okay, if you
Vampire
cut out
Hunter
all the frames where their faces
D.
are melting,
Here's the guy with the
hands
thing on his hand,
fused
isn't it?
into
Like-
blocks of ham. It's like 0.5% at best, but still. And if the Corridor crew is right, that's just the beginning. So I really fucking hope they're not, but I think we all collectively need to do a lot more than hope. It's not enough to rely on the average person maintaining their standards and taste for art with heart in the face of the inevitable mass media marketing push for AI content. We need an active, aggressive counterculture that pushes back against this nonsense wherever it rears its ugly head. AI anime needs to become as dirty a word as NFT. As life itself, I am insulted, and so should you. To be clear, I don't think that we should count out the potential of this technology forever the way that we absolutely should with NFTs. There are countless ways that AI tools could be useful to actual
could do, but
animators
let's not
and
get rid of
all
people.
other kinds of artists in the future. But so long as AI is being trained on the work of creators who never consented to that, so long as it's being used to cut artists out and deny them fair compensation and credit for their machine-laundered contributions to the art made with it, so long as its output is being passed off as man-made by grifters looking for a quick buck, we have no choice but to reject it wholesale. I'm not generally fond of gatekeeping, and I strongly believe that all forms of art benefit from being as accessible as possible to as many people who want to enjoy or create them as possible. But people is the operative word there.
Yeah.
If we're not careful, robots and humans who think like them will rip the soul right out of our culture. Now, I'm also not fond of ending videos on a purely negative note, so please let me suggest a good anime to you before
Cool,
you go.
go on.
If the subject of AI's potential impact on art and other aspects of human society interests you, then I'd highly
Carol and
recommend
Tuesday?
checking out Carol and
Yeah,
Tuesday,
good anime.
the newest series from Cowboy Bebop creator Shinichiro Watanabe. It's actually set in the same
really good.
universe as Cowboy Bebop, which makes it
Is
the
it?
closest thing to a sequel we're ever likely to
Ah,
get.
I didn't know that.
And
That's
it
cool.
came out all the way back in 2019.
It did.
But I promise that you will be shocked by just how much it's already predicted about this whole debate. Unless you already know that Watanabe is one of the greatest living futurists, but in that case, I probably don't have to tell you to go watch it. Of course, all of this is ultimately just my personal white-hot take on the subject of AI art and anime, so I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Especially if those thoughts relate in some way to Carol and Tuesday.
Ow.
I'm Jeff Thu,
I like
professional
Carol and Tuesday.
Tuesday fan, reminding you to watch Carol and Tuesday.
Yeah, it's good anime. I really liked it. Like, my ex got me onto that. It was really cool. I recognise some voice actors as well. I think the guy that plays... So the Japanese voice actor for Bato in Ghost in the Shell does the voice of their manager. And then, other than that, can't think of anything else. But that's an interesting one. The AI stuff. Yeah, that's weird. They shouldn't have come out and said, "Oh, we're changing animation forever." And then it's like, it's very weird. That looks very strange. I didn't see any of that, unless that was probably going on while I was away. I've missed so much. But anyway, thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video I upload, links in the description to the Patreon page. $1 a month is all I ask on the channel. That's greatly appreciated. Thank you guys very much for that, and thank you all for watching. What did you guys think of that? What did you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos. And I'll see you guys, all you guys, near them. Bye.